Welcome to the Rewards Master. And I have my good friend Travis White here today. If you haven't seen his channel, I'll link it down below, but you need to go over and check it out. The last video we did together that was about the difference between our two travel styles. I travel much more along with my wife Nona in a, I guess you might say, luxurious fashion, business class and higher end hotels. And my good buddy is exactly the opposite end of the spectrum. Is that
Roughing
a
it.
correct way to say it?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, in my videos, I always have to preface when I'm talking about built transfer partners, I always preface whenever I list off the ones that are interesting, I say, don't make fun of me. They have an interesting partner in spirit.
Yeah,
So
and no one else even remembers that spirit exists, right?
no,
So
no,
that's a
100%.
good
No,
example.
with them, and we're getting off track, and we'll get back on it on the exact topic with them. With spirit, with if you're booking with points, basically you have to be able to travel without even a carry-on if you want those to be a good deal.
Yeah.
You have to be able to fit everything you need in a personal item.
Yeah.
But that's neither here
Basically,
nor
you have to
there.
put your clothes in your pocket, right? So, I mean, yeah, it's pretty light travel. Well,
You wear
today what
layers.
we're gonna do is I mean, if you watch either one of our channels, you know that neither Travis or the Rewards Master Bob, neither one of us are fans of Chase. I have a lot of Chase cards because it's leftover from years gone by. Do you have a lot of Chase cards, Travis?
I, Even between me and my player two, we've got two. I've got one which is a free card. I don't use it. It's just kind of shelved. It's a sock drawer card. It's the flex, and then my wife has the preferred, and
Yeah.
that was purely for the sign up bonus.
Yeah. So we're not Chase people, but we're kind of doing a few videos on kind of ranking different cards within ecosystems. And I think we tossed a coin and we were both hoping we didn't win this one, but I ended up getting Chase. So what we're going to try to do today is we're going to try as two non-Chase guys, as two guys who love city and love built from opposite ends of the travel spectrum, we're going to try to do a fair and honest evaluation of Chase and each one of their cards. We're going to give them a grade from A down to D, each one of them, without being overly biased, or at least trying not to be. So you can be the judge if we succeed in that or not. So if you
Yes,
would,
yes, yes.
yeah, if you would, please hit the like and subscribe button and let Travis and I dive into this with you. Okay, so Travis, I'm going to let you start off, and we're going to start right at the bottom of their lineup. We're not going to do any of the co-branded cards. That would take a year to go through all the
Mhm.
Chase's co-branded cards. We're just going to go through their personal and their business cards that earn their ultimate rewards points. And I do want to say as we get started, I think we need to say some positive things about Chase because there are a few positive things about them. It used to be positive. You could rank up a lot of points. That's not the case anymore. They used to have pretty straightforward application rules. If you were under 524, had good credit, you were going to get their cards. That's not really true anymore. But without being overly negative about those things, there are some positives. I think, first of all, their app is very, very, very good, and their web page. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's the best in the world. I think like Capital, frankly, I think Capital One's app is amazing. But I think they're up there. They're not as bad as some others, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's true. I think the other thing that we have to give them credit for is that, man, the point sharing with Chase is absolutely, first of all, a lot of them don't even allow it, but the other ones who do, it's just not as easy. With Chase, once you call them and get that set up, I just go into her account, my account, we just move points back and forth. It is so simple, seamless, and without any effort.
You beat me to it. Frankly, that's kind of why that's kind of why I mentioned. So my wife has the preferred, I have the flex, and if there is a category that's really good that one of my many custom caches isn't covering, that's actually extremely beneficial. Like for example, if I don't want to be buying Amazon gift cards all the time, which is a bit of a pain sometimes. And the category for that quarter is Amazon. I don't have to worry about it. I can just send it on over to my wife's card that has access to transfer partners, and there are no issues. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the other thing we have to say is their transfer partners. I mean, we often compare them to others, and I think sometimes we're reactionary because honestly, they don't have bad transfer partners. But
Agreed.
when everyone, they've just had so many fans through the years. I think at least I don't want to speak for you, but I think I react negatively to, well, they're not all that, they're, as my kids would say, they're not all that in a bag of chips. I mean, they're not that great. But honestly, that's a reaction to people trying to make them out to be the best thing ever. When I look at City or even Amex or especially Build and say, well, those are arguably better. But I think to be fair, I have to say Chase doesn't have bad transfer partners. I mean, they have Aeroplan. You can't have a bad list if you have Aeroplan. I mean, and City doesn't have Aeroplan. So I think
Hmm.
that I think they have a decent list of transfer partners. Of course, they still have Hyatt. That's not what it used to be. But I just to be fair and to be evaluate it honestly, I think we have to say they have, at least I have to say, they have decent transfer partners.
I think I might actually rate Chase points a little higher than you, based on what you had said about Amex. So I think undebatably, I think both of us and everyone in the audience, if you have any common sense, Built is unarguably the best in the game. For both Bop and I think that having American Airlines with City is, again, I think they're easily number two in my opinion. But I do rank Chase as number three, and the reason that I say that, there's not many unique partners. There are some unique partners that Amex has. Obviously, you have ANA, you have Hyatt 1 to 2, stuff like that. But I'm hoping, I could always be wrong. It's kind of a prediction game right now, but I still really like Hyatt as a transfer partner. I am hoping that even after the devaluation that comes into place, I think sometime in May, I'm hoping that once that happens, that you're still going to be able to find good deals. Obviously, less convincing, less common, but still find good deals. And then, as you said, them having Aeroplan, the combination of those two, if you said, do you want $1,000 worth of Amex points or $1,000 worth of Chase points, I might go Chase.
Yeah. And I could even, I mean, I get so many more American Express points. I guess I naturally just think of Amex points as better. But if I'm honestly evaluating it, I think you've convinced me, particularly because of one more thing. They run good transfer bonuses. Now, I'm at a different place than a lot of people. You may do this too. I don't know, but I do speculative transfers because I have a lot of points. So, and I'm about getting more points. So in fact, yesterday I did two big speculative transfers, one to Avianca and the other one, who was to Aeroplan because they had an
Mhm.
Aeroplan. I mean, very few others have Aeroplan transfer bonuses. And then they had a Virgin, wasn't it 40%? Their
Yeah, I
Virgin
think
transfer bonus?
it was high. The only thing about Chase and their transfer bonuses that I'm not a fan of, they'll do it tiered, meaning like the more points that you spend, the better deal that you get. And
Really?
actually, yeah, relatively recently, I ran into that. There was a problem. So during my upcoming trip to China, there was a flight that I booked via Aeroplan. I needed as many points as possible, and I looked up, and Chase had a bonus over to them. This is actually the second in the span of like a year over to Aeroplan. And it was like, I think at my tier, because I didn't need that many to actually make those bookings because it was economy. I think it was only like 20%. And I think it was up to like 30 or more or something like that. Don't quote me on those numbers. It was tiered, and I was not in that higher tier.
Yeah. Well, they do run bonuses, and it seems to me like they run them, like I said, Aeroplan, very few others run them to Aeroplan, if ever.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
do that. Aeroplan points are very, very valuable in my estimation. So I think we got to give them some credit for that at least. And sometimes their transfer bonuses are a little higher, like that. I think it was
Yeah.
40%. It was theirs to Virgin. And most of the time it's 30% with others. So
To your point, um, don't get me wrong. If you compare any bank's transfer bonuses to what Built offers, I mean, Built squashes the competition. But with that said, Built limits you to specifically 1 day each month. And for you, you're okay with speculatively transferring. So, I mean, that's great. I mean, that's not a problem at all. But I think for many people, and I say it on my channel all the time, I don't recommend people, and you're going to qualify. I'll have to explain the whole thing. I don't recommend people speculatively transfer points until they've had experience booking with that partner. And the reason that I say that is that there are little nuances to almost all of these transfer partners, and you just don't know what those are until you've dealt with them. Meaning,
right.
sending it over to somebody you have no experience with, there is a risk there. But for me. Like I
It,
use Flying Blue.
honestly, if you don't have 1 million airline miles combined with transferable currency points, that's my threshold. If I ever drop under 1 million points, I'm not going to do speculative transfers because I have to still have enough points to book what I need to book when I need to book it. And that's what I think people don't get is that when you make a blanket statement about speculative transfers are good, in my case, they're good. Some of the folks who watch my channel who have lots and lots and lots of points and earn lots and lots of points, like business owners and things, they can be awesome.
Yeah.
But I can't say they're good all the time because they don't fit everybody's situation. For some people, it'd be the worst idea in the world. Like you said, people who aren't experienced, don't know what they're doing, or don't have enough points. But to say the opposite is true too, to say, well, you should never do a speculative transfer. Okay, so I mean, you got, I know people that have 4 million Amex points. I mean, why not? I mean, there's
Yeah,
nothing they're going to need the form. Why not transfer out 1 million of them and now have 1,300,000 and something? You know, it's
Mhm.
and I know a lot of people out there are going to think, well, that's outrageous. Nobody has. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. People who run a small business. I've got family members who run 40, $50,000 a month through a small business. I mean, you
And
know,
even those without that amount of points, I think that it can be beneficial if you know what you're doing, if you understand the partner, and you know that you use them often. Like for me, ones that I would feel Choice was one of them. I'm going to take that out of the picture. I use
well,
Flying Blue all the time,
Wells
specifically.
Fargo, you can still do it with Wells Fargo.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. The only thing is Wells Fargo and their bonuses is kind of like, I don't want to say non-existent. They're not the best. But like for example, Flying Blue out of my home airport, which is Austin, is really, really useful. I know that I'm going to use Flying Blue in the future. Meaning, say that there's a currency that I don't find super valuable. Let's say like Capital One points. If there's a transfer bonus over to Flying Blue, even though I don't have a ton of points, like cumulatively, I don't have a ton of
Right.
points. I'll take advantage of that.
Sure.
Just because it's just multiplying points that I know I would eventually send over. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a really good idea. Yeah, yeah, for me, like I don't do speculative transfers to everything. If somebody had Thai Airways, I'm not transferring any points to that. Even at 100% or 200%, I wouldn't do it. But if
Yeah.
it's Air France, if it's Aeroplan, if it's British Airways or any of
Mhm.
their other
Obvious.
airlines, right? If it's Virgin or Avianca, those five, I mean, I'll transfer speculatively to those because I'm going to use them. And
Yeah.
all of those are also programs I know how to keep my points alive forever. I know how to
Yeah.
keep them alive forever.
Well,
That
all you need to do is, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, with all of those programs, I know for many of them this is true. You just transfer over any amount of points and it keeps it active.
yeah.
So, I mean,
Avianca, you got to be a little more on top of it because they expire in a year. But I just transferred yesterday, and they now it's April 2027. So I mean, no matter what, every 6 months I transfer 1,000 points to them, transfer point bonus or not, and it's just my habit, right? And then the others are like 3 years, most of them for them to expire. So pretty much, if you're just doing some speculative transfers whenever there's bonuses, you never even have to worry about it. And virgins
yeah.
never expire, so they're not a problem at all. So yeah, they're I think that's another way. We got off on a rabbit there, chasing a rabbit, but that's I think that's a good thing that Chase has going
No,
for it.
I totally agree with you. And frankly, the next thing on the positives was with Chase, and this is a relatively new feature. I know it's a thing on the business card. I have heard that it is coming or already has come to the Sapphire Reserve, and we're going to get into specifics about each card. But they're now adding a price match feature for their portal. And just being totally honest with you, I despise the Chase travel portal. It is usually the worst, at least in my experience. And
It's
I realize.
expensive. It's more expensive.
Exactly. It's very expensive. And I realize that this can be all over the place. I'm sure that many people that are viewing this video right now are thinking, well, I had the exact opposite experience, which is totally fair. Just maybe it's just my luck so far, but it's a very expensive portal. So whenever I looked at, the reserve cards, whenever I saw, 8x on hotels booked through the portal, that multiplier was irrelevant to me because number one, it's Chase points. Number two, it's 8x versus 12x. I'm sort of starting to compare it to the City Strata Elite, which gets 12x in the portal in city points. So whenever I saw that 8x, I was thinking, that's pointless to me. I don't like. I don't even consider that beneficial at all. Now with the price match, all of a sudden that 8x is very real. And if I look up and I have, both the Reserve and the City Strata Elite, and there are many people out there that are viewing this that have many premium credit cards, there might be times where the city portal is substantially more expensive. With Chase, it's not going to matter, and you can get 8x. So I think that's beneficial too.
Yeah. Well, let's start off kind of at the bottom of their lineup with a card that a lot of people have. In fact, I mean, people are going to think this is crazy, but it's just the way we do our finances. But Nona uses this card as her everyday card. And she does that because for her money, she wants everything in the Chase app. She's got a bank account with them. She wants everything in the Chase app. And you know what? It's just a hill not worth dying on for me. I could try to get her to use these other cards and this, but yeah, I just don't worry about it. She
Yeah.
uses the Chase Freedom Unlimited. Now, the Chase Freedom Unlimited, it is, it's I don't know. It's a no annual fee card. It is, quote, the catch-all card of the Chase lineup because if you have the traditional Chase trifecta of the Freedom Flex, the Freedom Unlimited, and, a Sapphire Preferred or Reserve, it's the card that your catch-all. It is a 1.5x on everything catch-all card, which is below industry standard. And, basically the City Strata Elite card has that same thing with city points and you get other multipliers too. But it's kind of odd because it also has 3x on dining and I think it has 3x also on drugstores, right? And those are common categories for Chase. They love 3x dining, 3x drugstores. I don't know anybody who spends a fortune at drugstores, but I suppose there are people who do. And that's this card. Well, let me let you talk about it and give your grade first on the Chase
On
Freedom
the drugstore
Unlimited.
note, I know one individual, and he's a YouTuber. It's our Squared Travel Rewards. I'm sure that many people have seen his channel. He apparently, uses the drugstore category a lot. Outside of him, I don't know anybody that can really leverage that as a multiplier. The fact that that is just so absurdly specific. But so as a standalone card, I don't know how to grade this because it depends on, are you talking about this card paired up with a points earning card, or are you talking about this card standalone? Because standalone, I'm going to be just totally honest with you. I think that 1.5 as a catch-all card is an insult, and then 3x on dining is kind of a given. There's not an ecosystem out there that doesn't get 3x on, or at least 3% on dining. Then once you pair it up with a points earning card, I guess you could argue that, well, unlike other catch-all cards that earn 2x, well, it gets 3x on dining. Well, your points earning card with Chase also gets 3x on dining, which I don't want to knock it. I to be honest with you, I've got nothing against overlapping categories. That is not a problem. But nonetheless, I'm not crazy about this card. If you're getting something as a catch-all card at this point, the standard is 2x. When you look at Built and you look at City, both offer 2x point earning cards at the base level. That doesn't even count, Built's extra points that you can earn on your housing cost. And especially with like the City ecosystem, I mean, if you have something like the City Strata Premier and the double cash, now you're getting 2x in City points, which has access to American versus, the Chase Freedom Unlimited that's getting 1.5x, where, the best partners that you have are Air Canada or Hyatt or something like that. So yeah, my grade on this card, depending on how you match it up, standalone, I give it a C minus. If you pair it up with something else, maybe a C plus.
Yeah, I think I'm going to average those two together, and I'm going to give it a C. It's not a D card because it is getting 1.5x, and chase points are just so easy to manipulate and move around, as we said. So I think it's and it is a 3x multiplier on dining, which is a big category for a lot of people. So I think that if I were to, were to scale that C, it would be more of a C plus than a C minus. But to me, it's a C card. It's a C card. It's fine, but it is disappointing as a catch-all credit card.
Yeah, and we'll get to the next card, but just being totally transparent, because I've talked about Chase many times on my channel, I think that the way that Chase could change my viewpoint on the entire ecosystem if they refreshed the unlimited to just 2x. They don't need to do anything else. Just make it a 2x catch-all card. And then two, the preferred, but we'll get to that. But this is one of the cards where I point to it and say, like, if they refreshed that, if they just simply made it 2x, a lot of the way that I view Chase would change. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I would agree. Yeah, so the next one on the list is their other zero annual fee card, which is their Chase, their Freedom Flex card, right? And a lot of people, this one is very beloved in the community. And we have two of them, and we have the OG Freedom card, which basically kind of does the same thing. Not exactly, but pretty close. And I would, when I'll go first on this one, and I think that, well, first of all, it is a rotating category card, which strangely has some of the same 3x on dining, and I think, isn't that right? It has 3x on dining, 3x on drugstores also. Weird.
I actually am
But
not sure about the drugstore thing. I think you might be right. The reason that I don't know about it is it doesn't benefit me. But yeah, 3x on dining. They all get 3x on dining.
yeah. So somebody will correct us in the comments. I guarantee it if we get it wrong.
Mhm.
But it's got those multipliers, but it's 1x on everything except in a rotating categories that Chase chooses, not you. And it changes every 3 months. You got to register for it, but that's easy to do. It's not a big problem. And it changes, and every year one of those categories will be groceries, one of those categories will be dining. And the thing that makes this card really good. So for 1/4 of the year, I think this card is an A card because during the dining multiplier, the way they stack that is that they give you 4x on top. So how that is so you get in, if it's a normal category that you would get 1x, they put plus 4x for that category up to $500 a month or $1,500 a quarter. And then, so what that means is that, if it's something like Amazon, then you're getting 5x. Well, because they have 3x on dining anyway, it stacks that 4x on top. So for 1/4 of the year, this is the best dining card in the world. I mean, it is really good, up to $500 a month. So that, but there's three other quarters a year, right? There's three other
Yes, sir.
quarters a year. And I got to tell you, I'm just not doing the rotating category thing. I just
Yeah,
don't
I
do
am
it.
in the same boat. Yeah.
I
But
don't
I
do it.
tell you what, and then I'll hand it back over to you if you have anything else to add to that. I for a very long time I just didn't understand any of these rotating. I mean, I did understand these rotating category cards. I'm a little biased because I've got a bunch of custom caches, so I don't have to deal with that. But one of my buddies is a diehard Chase fan, and what he kind of woke me up to is the fact that, I mean, if you see Chase as exclusively a dining ecosystem, it's not bad. Because essentially you're getting 3x, and all you needed to do is use one card. You don't have to remember to keep up with that category because, of course, you're going to get it once 1/4 per year. You use the same card, which is the Freedom Flex, all year. And at least 1/4 of that, you're getting 7x versus 3x. And of course, 3x is very competitive. There are not many cards that get above that on dining. So yeah, I agree with you. It's very competitive if you look at it as a dining setup, and you're keeping up with those rotating categories if you're not exclusively using the Freedom Flex for dining.
Well, some of the categories are dumb. I mean, some of them are clearly they're using it as advertising to get someone to pay them for it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they had like Tractor Supply. I mean, it's
They had
just weird
McDonald's
ones. So I'm
as
going to
one.
I give this card a B because it does get that dining once a year. Sometimes you get, if you want to track those categories, I don't, but
Mhm.
people who keep track of that, I think a fair assessment is a B.
I think purely I'm going to go a bit higher than that because, number one, I'm trying to put my bias aside of, hey, you could just go with the custom cache. But whenever I talked with my buddy about his view of it being essentially a dining setup, That made a lot of sense to me. And frankly, he doesn't necessarily need to track that if he's only using it for dining. I give it a B plus. So yeah, I think it's a good card. I think it's a good card. I just don't think it's excellent. So I'm going to stick with the B plus.
Well, now we come to the one that I think you and I probably both have griped about more than anything else, which is the kind of their entry level travel card, the one that opens up travel partners, the Chase Sapphire Preferred card. And, as of now, it's still $95 a year. The card does it give some DoorDash credits? I don't ever use DoorDash, so
I don't
I
know.
think it I
I
think
don't
it
know.
does. Somebody will correct us again in the comments if it doesn't, but I know it gives a $50 hotel credit through their portal. And I must say, if I'm being really honest about it, it's really easy to use. I mean, the
Yeah.
problem is that their
Yeah.
hotels are a little more expensive, so it's more like a $35 hotel credit, over at least that's been my experience. But it's $95 a year. It is 3x on dining. I mean, on all these, you're going to get elevated multiplier of like 5x if you book through their Chase travel portal. So I'm not really kind of evaluating that very, very much. But it gets 3x on dining. It gets 2x on like transit travel, stuff like that. And
I don't
it's,
think transit is included anymore.
oh, really?
Um,
Okay.
I could be wrong about that. Somebody in the comments correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that is now um just a travel category, and if it's not, it's 2x.
Yeah.
So which to me is that's a catch-all, even if it does include transit. I know that the reserve doesn't include transit anymore, but even if it includes transit, 2x to me. So
Yeah, it's a 2x on travel, and then it's 1x, of course, on everything else. So the idea is you'd have the freedom unlimited that you get 1.5x on everything else. And then this would open up your ability to transfer to partners. So that's the basic idea. Now, this card was touted for years and years and years as the best entry level card for somebody who wanted to get into a travel card. And it was pushed. I think part of the reason is that yes, in all honesty, when Hyatt was at its peak, it was really good, easy mode for people, right? They could just transfer their points to Hyatt and you're getting good value. That's how it was forever. So that was a really honest evaluation that somebody who's not playing on expert mode or honor mode, so to speak, that those folks need something easy. Well, you can get into transferable currency by transferring over to them or to United or to Southwest, right? And with those partners, it's kind of it was a great entry level into that back when it was competitive with most of the other cards in the market at that same level. And, it always was beating out American Express because their cards are always more money, more annual fees. But things have changed a lot in recent years. Wells Fargo's no annual fee card is arguably better, even though they don't have as good as partners, but the earnings are a lot better. You get a bunch of 3X categories. And there's no doubt the City Strata Premier card is better. You get a lot better categories. And for $150, I mean, I would say that really the MX Green card might be better. Now, I just think that this card is a holdover. It has millions and millions of card holders. And a lot of folks use this as their main card, even people in my own family. I mean, I see them pull it out all the time. And as a dining card, it's not so bad. But if I have to evaluate, well, I'll let you give your grade first and then I'll give my grade.
yeah, there's a mix on this card because like there are some good aspects. Like one of the things that I actually really like is that to me a lot of people describe it, and I agree with them, that they describe it as a transfer partner tax. Um, but for a lot of people, they don't have a card that gives them a primary CDW. And this is still a mid-range card that gives you that, which is really, really nice. You can save a lot of money that way if you rent a lot of cars, especially domestically. So I like that part. The only thing is, like, at the end of the day, you have 3x dining. I see it as a dining card, honestly. I see most of the ecosystem as a dining setup, but it gets 3x dining, which is good, and then it gets 3x on online grocery. Like, why don't you just give a general grocery category and then travel. And I'll, again, people in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong, if that travel category includes things like transit, like subways, taxis, stuff like that. But even if it does, 2x is to me a catch-all, meaning at the end of the day, this is a transfer partner tax and it's a primary CDW $95 charge every year. So at the end of the day, I give this a C. I give it slightly higher than the unlimited card, but yeah, it is absolutely not my favorite card.
Yeah, you changed my grade a little bit because I was going to give it a flat C, but I'm going to give it a C plus because of that primary car rental.
Yeah.
Because that honestly, there are not many cards that do that. There
Yes.
aren't. I mean, the Venture X does, the Ritz-Carlton card does. I mean, but how many cards give you primary CDW? There just aren't very many. And this one is the cheapest one I know of. Can you think of another one that's
No, I
95 or
think
less?
this is the cheapest. I
It's the
think.
cheapest. And if you rent cars a lot, that's great. I mean, that is
Mhm.
great. So it's, I will say this too. We have this card, never ever use it except when we travel, and we often will use it overseas. Often.
Mhm.
Only because I sometimes City gets quirky when you're overseas. Sometimes,
You know
they'll
what's funny? I have never experienced that,
I
and I tell
haven't
you what,
really
maybe I'm.
either, but I've heard
Mhm.
lots and lots of reports of people
Yeah.
getting kind of fraud alerts. I've heard that on other cards. Like we're getting ready to travel overseas and I want to use my bill card, but I've heard negative reports. I'm thinking about leaving it in my
Mhm.
wallet. And one that I can always, always, always use and never worry about. And if there was to be any fraudulent charges, I know I could call them and they would take care of it
Mhm.
just like that. I could use this card. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Yeah.
pretty good. It's a pretty good card when you're traveling outside the US because I've never had a fraud alert issue. I've never heard anybody who had that with this card. So,
And you had brought up, like you compare. I think you compared it to the green a few seconds ago. I'm going to trash Amex here really quickly. Unlike Amex, you can actually use this internationally with no problems. You know that
everywhere
they're
that
going
takes
to
a credit card will take
you
this
know
card.
that they're going to accept it. I do not, even if I had an Amex card that I could take that didn't have foreign transaction fees. I don't have any of their premium cards just because they just don't fit my wallet. But even if I did, I'm not taking any of those Amex cards because I don't want to deal with people saying no, we don't accept Amex. So, and I know that it's getting better. It is getting better, but I don't want to deal with that. I go to too many places where it's just outright not accepted. And with the preferred, no problems there.
It's going to be accepted. So I'm going to give it a C
Yeah.
plus. And
Yeah.
when I'm traveling with it, it's probably a B. But
Mhm.
overall, I think it's just fallen behind its competitors so badly.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the big boy in the lineup, the one that's gotten all the attention over this last 6 months or so, and that is the Chase Sapphire Reserve, which was before the refresh. The argument was often made it was the best as far as the premium travel cards, and I think that argument had some teeth, right? I think it really did. Now it's 795 a year. It's just loaded down with a bunch of credits. And the purpose of this video is not to go through a full evaluation of that card, but just to kind of break it down. It does give 4x on flights, and I think it gives 4x on hotels as well. And
Yes. Yeah.
it gives
Direct.
8x through their portal on all of it. I mean, 8x on flights, 8x on hotels, all car rentals, all that stuff.
And
And
with the price matching, that's now if that's already a thing. I don't know if it is, but if that's already a thing, 8x in the portal now means a lot. I mean
yeah,
that's a good multiplier.
I mean, on flights, that's pretty good. I mean, their competitors don't really have 8x on flights. Most of them will have 10x or 12x. You mentioned City, they'll be 12x on hotels, but on flights, they're like 6x or 5x, right? And
Yeah.
so 8x is kind of industry leading on that. This card has a bunch of credits. Some are really good. They are. I mean, if I'm just and I've dogged on this card a lot because it does not work for me at all. And I'm the kind of target audience for this card, but it doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
But the $300 travel credit has always been the best in the game. That
Hmm.
$300 travel credit Anything you do that's travel, you put on the card and you get 300 bucks back. That is really easy. The edit credit, it's kind of trying to be FHR, but it's 250 twice a year, but you got to stay 2 nights, which for our travel stop. Now, for a lot of people, that probably doesn't matter, but I found those edit hotels to be quite expensive. So that's a kind of credit for me.
And there are exceptions, but those exceptions are few and far between. And I do not want credits on a card to dictate where I can go. And on top of that, I want my points and where my points can take me to dictate where I'm going to go because I want to go everywhere. I'm sorry, Las Vegas. I don't care if it's a good price. It's just not. It's not where I want to head, and I don't want to be limited by that. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, no, no. That's fair. That the other things about it is it has like a StubHub credit. A lot of
Yeah,
people hate that. I actually would use that because I live in SEC football country. I mean, I could go to ball games with that. That would be no problem. It has a dining credit that's just kind of like the problem is I live in a rural area, so all of those kind of dining now Resi works for me because there are just so many Resi restaurants, but their dining network is just not built out very well. It doesn't have a lot on it yet. And so you look at all, and it's got other credits as well. I mean, you can, if those credits work naturally for you and you're working it out, you can get that back. But I guess that for me, if I'm really, and it has the primary CDW and all that stuff as well. It also gives you access to lounges, you get priority pass, and you get guests, and you get into their Sapphire lounges, which are exceptionally good lounges. And
yeah.
they've got a few of them now. They're not like Capital One. They have, what do they have, 7 or 8 of them now, I think. So they're pretty good.
I don't remember the number off the top of my head. I had recorded about that in one of my previous videos, but um, before I jump in, I want to hear your grade.
Okay. I I'm gonna try to be as fair as possible. I I think some of the credits are absolutely junk, but some of
Mhm.
them are absolutely the best that there are. So I'm trying to offset that. But I think the earnings on this card are very good. I mean they are. 4x on flights and 4x on hotels and 3x on dining. I mean that blows the Amex Platinum. And I think, in my opinion, the Amex Platinum is a way better card for my use. I love it.
Mhm.
But if you're just looking at that aspect of it, it blows that card out of the water on earning because it's just
Yeah.
1x on flights, but it has a lot more other. It's more of a card that if a person just wanted to use that card, it would kind of work. I mean, it wouldn't be a great catch-all, but it would work on a lot of other stuff. So even though it just pains me to say it, oh, it just hurts me. I think I got to give it like a B or maybe even a B plus. I
It's
really,
funny that you
it
say
don't
that.
work for me,
Okay.
but I think it's a B or a B plus. And I know some people who listen to me a lot are gonna be like, what did Bob just say? He just gave the reserve card a B plus. I mean, but yeah, I don't think it stacks up to their competition in certain ways, but in some ways, it's still for that person who has one. And that's the thing is when I value these things, I have all of these cards pretty much. I don't
Mhm.
have this one, but pretty much every other premium card I have, and
Yeah.
it just doesn't work for the person who has a bunch of them, right?
Mhm.
But for the person who has one,
I
maybe so.
that was actually you knocked on kind of where I was headed. Is that so? Like I'm the type of person where I don't have many premium credit cards. I have two right now, and it had to do with long story. I'm the type of person where I want to have one premium credit card, aka one card that gives me access to lounges. And I think that if you want one card, this is not a bad card. In fact, I think it's actually pretty good. It's so funny because obviously I'm not the biggest fan of the rest of the card lineup, which is why a lot of my viewers are not super happy with me all the time whenever I talk about Chase.
Chase card
I,
lineup.
yeah. Oh, sorry. The Chase card lineup, but it's funny because it feels like everybody hates on the reserve. In my opinion, I think this is the best card that Chase offers. I think it's actually really solid, and I've got a couple reasons as to why. Number one, I find it interesting because you're kind of the premium traveler. I'm the economy traveler. I think that this card works better for me than it does you.
Yeah.
I am the exact opposite of what Chase wants
Mm.
their card holders from of this card. But for me, I look at it and I say, okay, it's got really good lounge access. Unlike many other options, it includes guests not only for priority pass but for chase lounges too. Chase lounges are really nice, and I've gotten to the point where I am cynical about a lot of these lounges. Like, a lot of people consider Capital One lounges to be very nice. The last time that I was in a Capital One lounge, I remember thinking like, this food was not good.
Mm.
It just wasn't. I'd rather eat at one of the restaurants in the terminal. I don't feel that way about Chase lounges. Other thing, comes with a primary CDW, so just like the Venture X, you're pretty much good to go there. Correct me if I'm wrong. Does the MX Platinum come with a primary CDW?
It does
Maybe,
not. It
I
does
think you.
not. It's a secondary. You got to
Yeah,
pay.
yeah.
Now it's very cheap, but you can pay for primary. But I mean, that's kind of lame that you got to pay for it when their competitors have it for free on a $900 card. So that's a
I
knock on
agree.
MX for sure.
And then on the lounge access, another thing is that you get access. I don't know where they are. You get access to the Maple Leaf lounges, the Air Canada lounges. I've never been in one, so if anybody has in the comments, let us know how nice that is. The other thing that I really like is that I think that the multipliers, as you said, are really good. Forex direct on flights and hotels is really solid. You really only have two cards that compete with that: the Amex Platinum and the Wells Fargo autograph journey card. So I think that the multipliers are really solid. And as far as the credits, if you're in a metropolitan area, I think that they're really good because you have the $300 travel credit, which is one of the easiest in the game. So there's $300 there. You have the StubHub credit. And I think a majority of people that are watching this video either go to a football game, a concert, a comedy show, something. You can easily use that StubHub credit. Granted, it is with StubHub, and they're the worst ticketing service out of all of them. But you can use that. And then you have the $300 dining credit. And if you're in a metropolitan area, that's easy to use. There's a lot of great restaurants on there. I know that me and my wife could easily use that. At the end of the day, I can kind of, at least for me personally, if this was my choice of my premium credit card, I could easily cancel it out. I don't like that a lot of those are split into the first half and the second half of the year, but the credits are good. I like this card. I'm gonna give it a B plus or an A.
Mm. I think that's fair. And you're exactly right. It's ironic because I mean, I put a lot of spend on cards and I mean, it's strange because this is the one card like that we don't have. I mean, we have a
Mhm.
Venture
Yeah.
X that we don't use, but I keep it because well, we get all our money back. It's easy to do. And,
Mhm.
we don't use it because as an authorized user, I don't get into their lounges anymore. So it's like we just hang on to it. But she has a platinum. I have a business platinum. So yes, they don't give guest access, but we both have one. So it's not a big
Not a
deal.
problem.
And
Yeah.
then for Chase lounges, which I love, we have a Ritz-Carlton card. And then I have a City Prestige card that gives us, so for when it comes to Priority Pass, we even get restaurants at Priority Pass and all the amenities and all that stuff. So I'm the kind of person, I spend a lot of money on premium cards, so I'm kind of the person they're shooting for. But where they shot themselves in the foot with us is that edit credit.
Yes.
That edit credit, I just do not want it because here's the
Me
thing.
either.
I want to stay one night and it be free. Now, I got to pay for the card. I understand that. But with Amex, for the most part, we sometimes they're $400, but we can get FHR nights for $300 to $400 and we get 300 back plus the property credit. They're free for at a top end hotel. I can't do that with the edit credit. So I'm just like, I'm not going to get it because I have so many others. But it's funny because but I think their target, but I'm a gamer too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm a gamer. And I don't think they want the high spender that's not a gamer. That's what
I
they want.
agree. They want somebody who's going to spend a ton, not really think about the credits, and kind of move on. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's funny. It probably does work better for you than it does for me. But honestly, I've been very critical. I'm doing a little self-reflection here. I've been
Mhm.
very critical of this card, and I'm thinking maybe, you know, I've been a little too critical of this card because yes, it doesn't work for my situation. It doesn't work from the gamer perspective as well. but it's pretty solid. I mean,
Yeah,
when you
it's
factor in the multipliers, and see, those
yeah,
multipliers don't mean anything to me because I get more than that. I mean, the
5x and
multipliers are
city
irrelevant.
points.
I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
and so, but for the person who doesn't have those multipliers, that doesn't have the prestige and the platinum that give 5x, and it doesn't have all the hotel cards that give 26x and 35x and all of that. Yeah, it's a good card. I mean,
Yeah, I think it's solid. And the other thing that I completely forgot to mention, we had talked about it earlier though, was that if this gets like price matching in the portal, 8x on hotels, that'll compete with anybody if you get the price match. Because a lot of these other portals, you're going to look at a hotel and think, okay, well, this is 5%, 10% more expensive than if I had booked direct. But on Chase, you're not going to have to worry about that. So you're still
yeah.
getting 8x. Yeah, maybe on City's side you're getting 12x. But if it's more expensive, I might go the Chase route. So yeah, I think it's a solid card.
Yeah. And let me just mention for our viewers, if you're interested in this or the preferred card, I mean, we weren't super high on that one, but I do have referral links for both of them down below. I think right now it's 75,000 point sign up bonus on the preferred card. And I think it's 125,000 points right now. You'll have to double check the offer for
It
yourself.
is. It
But
is
125,000 points, that's a very, very solid offer. So
very.
if you, it would certainly help the channel if anybody wants to use those referral links down below. Okay, now we move on. Now we move on to the business card side. And they have a number of business cards. And this is where Chase was like superstar in the past because of what was called the ink train. And I never, I don't know if maybe you did, Travis, but I never got on the ink train. I have one Chase ink card. I was starting the ink train when the ink train derailed and crashed into, you know, the ocean. I mean, it just is gone now because used to, man, you could just churn these bad boys. You could just get one, and then a month later you could apply for another one, and they have enormous. They still do. They have enormous sign-up bonuses. I mean, some of them are 75,000 points, $750 or 75,000 points for a no annual fee card. You're never going to find that on anything else. I mean, that is amazing. And some of them are very good, some of them are not very good at all. But in the past, this is how people would amass massive amounts of ultimate rewards because they could just keep getting. I mean, I've heard of and known people who had 6, 7, 8 ink cards, right? And they're getting these huge. So they're earning between 500 and a million points just on the business card side. Well, they've shut all that down now. So I think, what is it? Is it two? A person's allowed basically a maximum of two referral, I mean, two bonuses?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's two. And somebody again will correct us in the comments. You're listening to two not Chase people talking about Chase today, so
Well,
it's
and now
probably
that
entertaining.
like generally that the ink train is over. So for me, I just haven't had incentive to really look into all this. And on top of that, I'm not much of a churner, meaning when I'm like if the ink train was still a thing that I might consider hopping in, but now that it's not, it's kind of like any other ecosystem that I could hop into and get sign up bonuses in. It's like, okay, well, I know that, this is going to be a once in a lifetime sort of thing. So yeah, I don't know off the top of my head.
Well, let's start again with the unlimited. So we started with the Freedom Unlimited. So let's start with the Ink Business Unlimited. Now, this is a
Mm-hmm.
zero annual fee business card, which is great because once you have it, you can keep it, and that's no problem. And it has a tremendous sign-up bonus. Right now, it's $750 or 75,000 points, which for a no annual fee card, any no annual fee card is just, I mean, and Chase points are pretty valuable, but even if they were not valuable, that would be an amazing sign up bonus. So
Yeah.
that's why they've always been so beloved. But this card, I mean, when it comes down to it, it's a catch-all card. It's 1.5x on everything, just like the Freedom Unlimited is, but on the business side. Now, with this one and the next one we're going to talk about, the cash card, you can't transfer out to partners unless you have one of these other ink cards that we'll get to in a minute, or the Chase Sapphire Preferred or the Chase Sapphire Reserve. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just a cashback card unless you have one of those that make transfer partners available. And it's 1.5x. It's not even as good as the Freedom Unlimited because it doesn't have all of the
Yeah,
same
dining.
multipliers.
Yeah.
And so to me, I've got to put this one at the bottom of C. I'm just going to put a C minus on it. It's good for the bonus, and it's
I
very
have
good
the
for the bonus.
I have the exact same rating. If you're rating this based on the card itself, I give it a C minus. But $750 for a sign up bonus on a free card that can be turned into UR points, man, that is an amazing sign up bonus. So I mean, like if you include the sign up bonus in my rating, I mean that bumps it up to a C plus, maybe even a B. But by itself, C minus. I mean, this is just not. Again, it goes back to our previous comments. It's just not a good catch-all card, and it's meant to be a catch-all card.
Now we come to the Ink Business Cash Card, and it's kind of its brother, right? You have the Freedom Flex, Freedom Unlimited on the personal side, but this one's very different. Whereas the other one kind of is a somewhat of a clone of the Freedom Unlimited. The Ink Cash Card is not a clone at all of the Freedom Flex card. It is a zero annual fee. It again has that same amazing bonus, $750 or 75,000 points. I think you got to spend 6,000 in purchases in the first 3 months, but that's still very reasonable for that many points. But this one's very neat because even though it's 1x on everything, it has 5x on some business categories. And the one that matters to me, and there's a few of them, but the one that really matters to me is you can get 5x on office supply store purchases. So that's Office Max, Office Depot, Staples, and it pretty much works if you're doing it in store or online, and it's 5x. It also has 5x on phone plans. Now, you got to give some kind of a caveat here, but it doesn't have cell phone insurance. So that's kind of the trade-off. But I use this card for my phone bill, and that's pretty much how I told you Nona uses the Freedom Unlimited. So we get some points from that. But she
Yeah.
spends more than I do on my phone bill, and we get more points on my phone bill than we do what she spends all month on her Freedom Unlimited because we're getting 5x on my phone bill. And that's that's a usable category. I mean,
Yeah, it
your
is.
cell phone provider, and then office supply stores. The thing about office supply stores, they sell one thing that's very useful in this, and you know what that is?
Gift cards. Yep.
Gift cards, including sales of Visa and MasterCard gift cards almost every month at no fee.
which
So,
which
I mean,
is crazy. That is a I think only the people that are the deepest that are watching are going to be wildly excited about that. So it's a great card for gamers. I just think that for the average person, like, oh my gosh, if you told anyone in my family, name a single member of my family, oh yeah, this you can go to a office supply store and buy gift cards, they'd be like, are you insane?
well, you could be Bop and you could buy gift cards at no fee and get 5x and then load them into Mileage Plus X and then use that to shop at Walmart and then get an extra half a point with,
Amazing.
I mean,
Amazing.
it's stuff like, I mean, I do that kind of stuff, but like you said, I'm a gamer. So, I mean, yeah. But what's your
Mhm.
rating on this card?
So I have to keep in mind both crowds that I just described. The people that I described as my family, and then the bops of the world, the people that are watching this video. So I'm going to even it out at a B, or I want you. I think you might have talked me into giving it a B plus, just because for people that this is good for, it's great. Um, the only the thing that I love about it is that it has all the benefits that we talked about, and it's a free card. And if you pair this card up with, say if I got this card, I could transfer all those 5x points that I'm earning, well, cash back over to her preferred, and then I have access to transfer partners. I think that is amazing. So I think that you might have talked me into giving it a B plus.
Yeah, for me, I think that's a very good grade. But I think this is the best, at least in my estimation, this is the best chase card that they have. I mean,
Mhm.
and I know people are going to think that's because I'm a gamer, but I actually think it's great for normal people too. And I'll tell you, because where are you going to get 5x on your cell phone bill? I mean,
Yeah.
that's really good. And it's no annual fee. So it's like set it and forget it. And you get a $750 sign up bonus. I mean,
Yeah.
and if you
The
did have
only
something at an
catch
office
though,
supply store, you could get that 5X. I mean, I know people are going to think I'm kind of going overboard on this, but it's an A+ card to me. It's really a
wow,
great card.
I'm shocked.
I
You know,
love it. I mean, and that's the only chase card that would ever get into the stratosphere for me. But I love cards that have gamification. I mean, and this
uh-huh.
card is like the king of that. I mean,
Oh no, it is.
it's really good.
The thing that drives me crazy, I don't know about anyone in the crowd that's watching or Bob. I don't know which cell phone provider you use. I'm with Verizon, and they will charge you, essentially they're charging you an extra $10 to use a credit card that's not the Verizon card. And I'm not doing that. I'm not. So I just pay from directly from my checking account. I wouldn't even if I had this card, I couldn't use it because at the end of the day, you could argue depending on my redemption that I make up for it, but at the end of the day, it wouldn't be worth it for me. So this would purely be, at least for me, for the sign up bonus and the 5% back on credit card, or sorry, on gift cards at these office supply stores. And I imagine many people in the crowd would be in the same position. So yeah, I think I'm going to stick with B+. I'm impressed that you went with A+. Nice.
Well, I have a pretty big cell phone bill because all of my grown children are still on it, and I don't know that they're ever going to get off, even though they have great careers. And, it's just,
Just is what it is.
it's my lot in life. It's not a lot, but it's my life. That's
Yep.
the kind of deal. But I have a big cell phone bill, and, I just did the math. If their points are worth 4 cents a piece, which that's how I use my points,
Yep.
I usually transfer these to Aeroplan and I'm getting 4 cents a piece. Then that's like 45 bucks. So even if I had to pay $10, it's still a net positive for sure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that I just think I can't move from it. It's that good a card to me. I think this is a fantastic card. All
Being an
right.
economy traveler, I would probably end up, I think that I probably end up getting like, $10 a points per month, pay $10. As an economy traveler, I think I could reasonably expect, 2 cents, 2.2, 2.3. So I would make up for it. I guess at the end of the day, I could make up for it. It's just not convincing enough to make me go out of my way. Although I say that the sign up bonus might be. So
Well, the next one on the list is the Chase Ink Business Preferred card. Now, this is kind of the cousin of the preferred card on the personal side, the Sapphire Preferred. It again is $95. It has a 100,000 point offer for $95, which is very, very strong. Now, you do have to spend $8,000 in 3 months to get it, but still 100,000 point offer. I think that's very, very strong. And this card is kind of a sleeper in the system because a lot of people like it because it is a 3X travel card. It gives 3X on that and then some select business categories as well. And like I said, it's $95 a year. And it gives you access, if you don't have one of those Sapphire cards, gives you access to their transfer partners. So you could run a Chase setup that's all business cards. I mean, a person could do that if this is your card to transfer out to partners. Or I guess if you had the Sapphire business now, I mean, the Reserve business that they have that we'll get to in a minute. But yeah, this card, I don't know what you would think about this. I don't think it's as good as the cash card, but I think it's not bad if you're using it as your travel card. 3X on all, travel is pretty good. So
I
I'm going to
really
say
like
this
that.
card's a B card. I think it's a B card, especially when you factor in that 100,000 points.
I totally agree. I landed on the exact same number. I'm going to give this a B, and that is primarily because anybody who travels a lot internationally knows that the amount of public transportation that you have to take is crazy, and that adds up quickly. Talk about if you're impressed by the cell phone bill, oh my God, if you're traveling through Europe or South America or Asia and how much you spend on transportation, it gets up there. Having a card that could get 3X on all of that and it's a Visa, I mean, that's really good. I know that you could argue there is ironically enough, one card in the game that really competes with that really well, which is the Wells Fargo autograph card. But nonetheless, I think that you would be hard press to say that Wells Fargo points are better than Chase points.
They're
I think this is
not.
the best in the game for that. Exactly.
They're
So
not.
I think that this is the best in class travel, pure play travel and transit card out there, basically. So yeah, I'm going to go with a B.
All right, let's get to the. I'm just going to do this one real quick. The Ink
Yeah.
Premier card is $195 a year. It gives $1,000 bonus after you spend 10,000 bucks in 3 months. But I have a family member that accidentally got this card. This card gives you 2% back on everything, 2.5 cash back on everything you spend over $5,000 at a single purchase. But here's
Mhm.
the catch. This card doesn't give you ultimate reward points. It's just cash back. And you can't even transfer it into ultimate reward points, transfer them out. It's a 2x catch-all card that costs $195 a year. It's a D card to me. I think this card, when there's a blue business cash out there that gives you 2x that's free, this card is a
Yeah.
dog for me.
I totally agree, and I think that people would justify it if you're cash back and you spend a ton over $5,000, you can get, I guess, 2.5 back with it, and I guess there's the justification. But because of that, I'm going to give it one notch higher. This is a C minus card to me, and frankly, this feels like the credit card version of catfishing. You've got a bunch of other cards that seem exactly the same, where they've got a rule where, hey, if you get cash back on these cards, you can transfer it over to transfer partners, and you've got one specific card that can't do that.
That's
That
dumb.
feels disingenuous to me. That alone, yeah, C minus.
Now, the last one I don't know a lot about, but it's the Sapphire Reserve for Business. It does have a huge sign-up bonus, 150K, but you got to spend 20 grand in 3 months. So that's a crazy, crazy number. It's 795. It gives basically the same access to everything that the personal card does. It has some different credits. They say up to $6,000 in value. Do you know much about this card? I don't know a ton about it, but when I've looked into it, it's like I would rather have the personal card.
No, I would much rather have the personal card. This is what I would describe as to Chase's credit. You made a business card and they made it for businesses. The
Yeah, they
credits
did.
are really meant for businesses. Like there's,
Like
some
real
credit,
businesses, not like our little podunk businesses. It's
like real business. Yeah, real businesses. Like I don't have it in front of me, but I know they're like credits related to like advertising and stuff like that. The multipliers relate to businesses. I think it's 3x on social media and search engine advertising. If you're running a real business, like a large business where you need marketing spend, and obviously that's a majority of large businesses, this is a great card for the personal user, which is, I think, a mass majority of people that are watching this
right.
video. This is not super useful. If you're a real business, it's a great card.
Yeah. So what would you rank it as a business card?
I think if you're running an actual business, I think it's a really good card. I think it's an A card. If you're one of us and you're a gamer, you technically have a business, but you don't really need these things. It doesn't really work.
You
So
need to
like,
just get the personal card, right?
yeah, you go with the personal card. C for personal for individuals.
Well, thank you, Travis, so much for being here. That is the lineup of Chase cards, and I hope everybody's enjoyed it. Please put in the comments. I know you're going to disagree, some of you, and that's okay. But hit the like and subscribe button. Again, I have some links down below if you want to check those out. Can't thank you enough, my friend, for being here.
Happy to be here. It was a great time, and we're about to film another video, and we're going to be ranking the city lineup. I think it's gonna be a good one.
It's going to be a good one. Thanks for being here. We'll see you here next time.